All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to explore a pretty wild idea today, that the world you see isn't necessarily the world that is, but the world that you are. And we're going to do this by looking at the poet and artist William Blake through one single incredibly powerful idea he had, all about a tree.
And there it is. This is the proverb at the absolute heart of everything we're talking about today. Now, at first glance, it sounds pretty straightforward, right? But for Blake, this isn't just some clever saying. He's actually making a huge statement about the very nature of reality itself.
And that's the question that immediately pops into your head, isn't it? I mean, if a fool and a wise man are standing in the exact same spot, looking at the exact same tree, same bark, same leaves, same everything, how on earth can they be seeing different things? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to unpack.
So for Blake, seeing isn't this passive thing where light just hits your eyeballs. Not at all. For him, seeing is an active, creative, and even spiritual exercise. The way you see the world literally reveals the state of your own soul.
This is where it gets really interesting. Blake breaks down these two completely separate realities. The fool is a materialist. They look at the tree and just see stuff, a physical object, something you could chop down for timber. They see a world of, in Blake's words, dead matter. But the wise man sees something else entirely. They see divine energy, a doorway into the infinite, a living vision. It is the same physical object, but they are living in two totally different worlds.
So what's the difference maker here? Blake had a name for it, the poetic genius. The best way to think about it is like the operating system for your brain. It's this internal, imaginative power that's always running. And it's the code of that system that determines whether you see a world of dead things or a world that's truly alive. And this gets us right into the psychology of it all. Blake really frames this as a kind of battle inside of us, a tug of war between two different ways of seeing the world, what your physical eye sees versus what your creative imagination is capable of perceiving. So the fool's eye is driven by what Blake called the horses of instruction. Think of it as just rigid, by-the-book rationality. He said this leads to a poison from standing water, a stagnant mind. And a mind like that can only see the surface of things, the outward circumference of objects. The vision is just flat, uninspired, basically lifeless.
But then you've got the wise man's imagination. This is powered by what Blake brilliantly called the tigers of wrath. Now, this isn't about being angry. It's about having energy, passion, a real force that can break through the boring, mundane surface of things. With that kind of energy, the tree is no longer just a static object. It becomes a living, breathing participant in this grand cosmic dance. So for Blake, how you perceive things becomes a moral act that actually reflects the health of your own spirit.
Okay, let's zoom out a little, because this idea isn't just about our own individual psychology. It's actually a form of rebellion. Blake was pushing back hard against this push during his time to create one single standardized reality for everyone. And this gets to his most radical point. The idea of objectivity is basically a myth. For Blake, there is no single objective tree just sitting out there waiting for us to look at it. And why not? Because the object itself is fundamentally changed by the imagination of the person who is looking at it. You are literally part of the equation.
And suddenly, the simple act of seeing a tree differently becomes this profound challenge to authority. It pushes back against the whole idea of objective measurement from the Enlightenment. It was a rebellion against the scientific and religious institutions that were trying to define one reality for everybody, what Blake called the manacles of mass reality.
Okay, so if this is a rebellion, how do you sign up? How do you actually start to see things in this wiser way? Let's talk about how to unlock this kind of visionary perception. Blake talked about two types of vision. The fool has a devouring vision. It just wants to consume, to categorize, to use the tree for some limited purpose. Stick a label on it, measure it, and move on. But the wise man has a prolific vision. It's creative. It allows the tree to be so much more than just a piece of wood. It lets it become a powerful symbol of something way, way bigger. I just love this metaphor he used, the fox versus the lion. The fox-like mind is clever. It analyzes, it describes, it can give you a perfect botanical rundown of the tree, a neat and tidy list of facts. But the lion-like visionary? They capture its essence. They get a glimpse of the infinite. For the lion, exuberance is beauty, and they see that living, vibrant beauty right there in the tree.
And this
is the absolute key to all of it. For Blake, the path to wisdom isn't about cramming more facts about the tree into your head. It's not about becoming a better botanist. It's about something much deeper. It's about fundamentally changing how you see by cleansing the organs of perception.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Blake puts the responsibility for the kind of world we live in right on our own shoulders. If you want to escape a dull, lifeless world and enter a vibrant, amazing reality, you don't start by changing the world out there. You start by changing the genius, that imaginative power through which you see it.
So, I'll just leave you with this question. The next time you're outside and you look at a tree, what are you going to choose to see? A simple collection of dead matter and facts, or a doorway into the infinite? According to Blake, that choice is entirely yours.